It was the start of another normal school day, or so I thought. Walking down the hallway, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was different. Something was wrong. The walls looked unusually clean, almost like they had been scrubbed too recently, and the air felt thicker than usual. It was hard to pinpoint exactly what it was, but I could feel it in my bones, a lingering unease. I brushed it off. Maybe I was just tired. But as I settled into my first class, I noticed something else. The lights overhead buzzed with a low hum, like the dying sound of an old light bulb. It wasn't loud, but it was there, creeping into my mind. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 8:55 a.m., and I'd only just sat down. The day had barely started, yet everything felt off. Still, I told myself it was nothing. Just a bad day, perhaps. The teacher began calling roll, but when she reached my name, something strange happened. She didn't say it correctly. It wasn't an accident. I knew my name, but it sounded wrong. Distorted, like a shadow of its true self. I stared at her, waiting for her to correct herself, but she didn't seem to notice. The rest of the class didn't either. No one reacted, and it felt like the moment was forgotten. It was then that I began to hear it, a faint sound coming from down the hall. I could have sworn it was my name being whispered. I couldn't make out the voice, but it was unmistakably mine. I glanced around, but no one seemed to notice. I stood up to go check, but as soon as I did, I felt a subtle shift in the air, like the world had paused for a breath. As the school day continued, I noticed more things. Small things that made my skin crawl. The hallways were eerily silent. No echo of footsteps. Nothing but the soft press of my shoes on the tile. I glanced around, expecting to hear the usual hum of voices, the chatter of students between classes. But there was nothing. The silence swallowed everything. By lunch, I had made up my mind that something wasn't right. I went to the cafeteria, and it felt as though the room itself was watching me. I sat at the same table I always did, and yet everything felt wrong. The lights flickered once, then twice. The whole room held its breath for a second. I looked around and no one seemed to react. The moment passed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was waiting. It wasn't until the next class that I saw her. The new teacher. I'd never seen her before. She was standing at the front of the classroom, a wide smile stretched across her face. Her eyes, they didn't blink. Not one. She stood perfectly still, as if frozen in time, only moving when she spoke, her lips barely parting. I watched her closely, trying to figure out why she felt so wrong. Her smile never wavered, but there was something hollow in it, something that sent a shiver down my spine. I wanted to ask my classmates about her, but when I did, they stared at me as if I had asked a ridiculous question. No one else had noticed her odd behavior. That night, as I lay in bed, I remembered something I'd heard earlier, a faint buzzing sound like an old radio picking up static. The next day, the feeling worsened. My name, again, was called wrong. This time, no one else seemed to notice, but I felt it. The air felt heavier, like something was pressing down on me, suffocating me with its weight. Then it happened. The clock in my classroom, which had been ticking steadily for hours, suddenly stopped. The minute hand was stuck at 10:02 a.m. I stared at it, waiting for it to tick again, but it didn't. 5 minutes passed. Then, in an instant, the clock jumped forward. 10:07 a.m., and that's when I noticed it. The room had changed. A shift had occurred, one that no one else acknowledged. The atmosphere felt thicker, like something was watching. I looked around. No one else reacted, but I felt it. I had missed something. Something important. Something I wasn't meant to see. As the days went by, the strange occurrences piled up. Students began to disappear. Not one or two, but several. Friends I had known for years were suddenly gone. Their names were still on the roll call. Their bags still sat on their desks, but no one remembered them. Not even their closest friends. I asked around, but no one knew them. Not even the teachers. One of them had sat behind me for weeks. We had talked every day. I still had his notebook with his name written in it, but when I asked anyone, they stared at me confused, as if I were speaking about a ghost. And then, the stickers started showing up. I found one on my locker, a small plain sticker. It looked like nothing, but the moment I saw it, I knew. It was a mark. Something had noticed me. I peeled it off, but the next day it was back. I tried burning it. That didn't work either. The sticker returned just as it had before. It was too late. I'd been marked. By now I could feel it everywhere. The school wasn't the same anymore. Desks began to move on their own. The walls would shift when I wasn't looking, and the intercom would whisper unintelligible sounds. The whispers were disturbing, like something chewing, something crawling through the wires. I tried to block it out, but it wasn't easy. It never left. It always whispered, just out of reach. One day I saw it, my reflection in a hallway window, smiling before I did. My heart stopped. It wasn't me. It couldn't be. I turned away as slow as I could, trying not to blink. Whatever was in that reflection was not human. I had to get out. But getting out wasn't so simple. Every exit had changed. The doors that led outside now opened into endless staircases. The hallways twisted and stretched in impossible ways. There was no logic to it. Just cold, empty space and the sensation that something was always behind me, watching, waiting. And then I heard it, a voice distant from the subfloor. It was calling me, but I remembered the warnings. The subfloor wasn't for students. It wasn't for anyone, it was waiting for someone. And if I went down there, I wouldn't come back. I decided to leave. The final bell rang, but no one stood up. I waited 11 seconds as I had been told, then quietly walked out of the room. I didn't look back. I didn't run. I took the stairs just as I was told. But something followed me. I could feel it, like it was breathing down my neck. I walked through the halls, counting my steps. 7 left turns. 1 right. I had to be precise. 1 wrong turn, and I would reset. The school would never be the same. I couldn't let it reset. I finally made it outside, or what I thought was outside. I stood in front of the school, looking back. It looked the same, but I knew it wasn't. The school had changed. The doors behind me weren't doors anymore. They were something else, something waiting, and in the distance I could hear it. My name. Whispering, calling me back. It wasn't over. Not yet over.